Hello everybody! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about IRL maxing. I know, the inevitable. Anyway, the reason why I'm talking about it is because, well, I have to talk about it again at some point. And obviously, this is not the only thing I talk about on this channel, but it is something that I do, like, occasionally talk about, because if I don't acknowledge it, if I don't talk about it, it's gonna not, help that community. It's not gonna really help the, people who do IRL maxing, actually do it. And there are a lot of issues with IRL maxing, and for those who are not aware, or for those who just have no idea what I'm talking about, IRL maxing, it originally started as its own, movement to separate from the blue pill. And basically, the blue pill, long story short, it originates from the 1999 movie The Matrix, and there was, the red pill, and that's the more famous, side of the whole pill movements, the whole pill thing. That was the more big one. That was the more famous one. And I would say it peaked in 2022. That was around the year when it was at its absolute height of just mainstream. And then, eventually it fell off around 2023, 2024. And right around that time, right around that era, you had people that were doing the blue pill stuff, but because of the red pill thing, it also kind of fell off as well. But during this time, which was 2024 and 2025, it eventually mostly wore off. And there were some other movements associated with the blue pill. And then eventually it branched off, and only recently has it successfully became its own thing. And the thing is that the IRL maxing has kind of always been its own thing, even before the Matrix was around, but at least to my knowledge. But, it never completely separated as its own official thing until recently. And by recently, I mean I'm the one who gave it its more known name or modern name, its current name, time of recording, because, well, you gotta update it every once in a while, It's kind of like taking a book in an old ancient language and translating it into a new modern version of, whatever language it is. It's kind of like that, basically. And, if you don't know what IRL maxing is specifically, not necessarily the movement, but what it is, what it's supposed to represent, is basically just helping people, that are already in real life, and helping them not to be chronically online. But it's especially made for people that are already chronically online, and putting them, offline, chronically offline, I guess you could say, to help them so that way they are not always reliant on the internet. Now, don't get me wrong, the internet can be pretty helpful, but there are a lot of problems with it, and, when you're chronically online, and you're spending, all your hours online, all your waking hours, just online in general, you're gonna have to start acknowledging that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be up at 4 in the morning from, watching it from the past, say, 25 hours, 24 hours or so. Because it's dog, you've been on there for a while. You gotta get off at some point. And again, this is not to like force people to get offline necessarily, but it's more of just like helping them where they don't have to feel like they want to be online. You know, they don't have to feel like they need to be social pressured on it. You know? And one of the hardest things that they do, that chronically online people do, is that anytime they feel bored or uncomfortable or, you know, strange, unease, anything, even if it's just a little pressure, you know, like say, metaphorically, they will instantly go to their phone or their computer or their TV or whatever they use, whatever device they may have. And it really just sucks because you could be in the middle of the conversation, bam, they're using their phone. Bam, they're on it. You know, they're always on it. You know, there's never a moment where you can say, oh yeah, this person was offline. But, again, we're not trying to take your device necessarily as in, you know, completely force it out of you. What we're trying to do is get you to convince yourself that, hey, maybe it's not worth spending all that time online, you know? Maybe, hey, I don't have to always be online, you know? Like, you don't have to be online every day, or at least, you know, all the time every day, you know? That kind of thing. Because what if you're in a social situation where you're going to be offline for a long period of time? What if you're in a situation where you can't access the internet no more? You know, you can't use the online world no more. Like, what are you going to do? And even if you're not, and even if that doesn't happen to you, you still got to at least, like, be able to just know when to socialize and know when to not socialize, generally speaking. You know, like, know how to use your alone time, but also know how to be around people too, okay? Because on the internet, people become very introverted for some reason. And, like, it makes them really afraid of phone calls. It makes them really afraid of, like, you know, FaceTime, stuff like that. It makes them, like, really scared of just, like, talking to certain people, like a cashier. Like, it really sucks. Like, yeah, that person might seem scary. That person might seem like they're after you. But it's like, dog, no, they're not. You know, it's just in your head, you know? It seems all scary, but when you start to get used to living in the real world, you're just like, you know what? Maybe it was just all of my fears that I had. You know, maybe it was just all in my head to begin with, which it was, you know? Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, there are some nasty people in real life. There are some bad individuals, you know, and you might even be one. That's the thing. And you might not even realize it, you know? Especially if you're, you know, you have certain disabilities or say, mental or physical, or maybe you just are a certain way, or you are a certain type of person, whatever it may be. You gotta start figuring out, before you can fix the problem, you gotta know what the problem is, because who knows, maybe you might not even have a problem in the first place, you know? But unfortunately, there are a lot of people that can diagnose or find an issue, but they don't know how to fix it for the sheer fact that they're just so obsessed with being a certain way or doing certain things. And notice how when things get into the extremes, it gets specific, because it's not just, you know, hyper extreme on the internet, it's also hyper personalized, which means that you could have two profiles on the same account and have a completely different feed. You know, like, you don't have monoculture, so to speak, like it used to be. So because of it, You have a bunch of people on the internet. Yeah, they might have saw that one video, but they're also seeing this and this and this and this and this, you know? Because how people might react this way might not be the same as somebody else. Now, individualism and free will has kind of always been a thing, which I personally do believe in free will and, individualism. But here's the thing. We've never had, until the internet, we never really had something that, like, showed what the whole world is doing, but on an individual level, so to speak, you know? And because of it, it sort of overwhelms people. And the internet doesn't care if you like or hate something. As long as it keeps you on their specific platform, they will just go this way. Why do you think that YouTubers, like, or Twitch streamers, or whoever the fuck, like, you'll form a certain opinion about a TV show, or a movie, or a video game, or a book, or a song, or whatever the hell it is, and you just, like, have that opinion, but you never actually watched the show, you never actually read the book, you never actually, played the video game, or listened to the song, or whatever it is, you know? Why do you think that is? Because it's more about, how can we keep you on the platform rather than, hey, do you want to actually form an opinion on something? You know? Like, don't get me wrong, there are some shows and some movies that I really don't like, but I had to actually, watch them in order to do that, And if you ask me, if you're going to, like, have a certain viewpoint or whatever, that's fine. But there are some people that are just like, they'll just say anything to either completely agree with you or completely disagree with you. You know what I mean? Like, they either tell you what you want to hear, or they intentionally go out of your way to tell you what you don't want to hear. Like, you never hear what they actually want to tell you. And the problem about realism, and the problem about, people who, like, they've always existed in some way or another, but the people who have insert, current thing here ideology, these kind of people, for centuries, they could always hide behind traditionalism. They could always hide behind, say, religion, for example, or politics, or sports, or just regular old entertainment, because, well, there wasn't the internet. There wasn't anything to really expose them, because they had the power. They had the power to really control whatever industry they were put in. But now that they can't bully around because that strategy doesn't work anymore, and they're basically pre-prepared by like 30 years for that kind of stuff, it makes it a lot harder for them to really, like, understand things. And you don't have to be the most relatable and in touch and the most, currently informed person to understand these things. But, like, a lot of these people, the way that they think is not, hey, how can I be reasonable? Hey, is this something that I actually agree or disagree with or have a neutral thought on? No, it's, does this make me feel smart? Does this make me feel the vibe of, does it agree with me or disagree with me? Like, they never get to really form an actual opinion because they think, oh, they have an opinion for me. They have everything for me. The way they think is for me. It's already made. It's already there. But a lot of this modern stuff, a lot of this modern ideology is not really modern per se. It's just the illusion of modern, It's just the old thing, just with a new paint job. You know, it's the old car with the new paint job, so to speak. You know, like it's still the same old thing, but it's just in different color or a different fashion. You know, so it gives you the illusion that it's new or original or, you know, in this case, modern. But in reality, it never was in the first place. You know? It really gets in people's heads. It doesn't matter what the topic is or what the thing is. You know? Like, if you go to the internet, even like 10, 20 years ago, you had these people, or 10, 20 years ago, time of recording, you had these people that were on the internet. You spent a little bit of time on there, and that was all you had for that day, you know, if you were on there at all. Because most people didn't have stuff like the IRL maxing community because it was never needed, you know, it was never really a thing until it had to be. Which is where I step in, which is where it all starts to connect. And you might go, well, what does all of this have to do with IRL maxing? Well, here's the thing. Back then, people were living in real life so much that they used the internet to escape reality. Now, people use real life to escape the internet, you know? Like, there were times in your life where you didn't know about any of this stuff, you know? You didn't think about any of the things you thought about up until now or in the future, you know? Like, you are not the same exact person you were when you were born, and you're not the same exact person as you are now, and you're not going to be the same exact person when you die. You might have the same name, you might have a similar looking face, you might have an identity of some kind, but you're never going to be 100 the same person as you were when it started versus when it ended, you know? Like right now, you're just in between, you know, the after the birth and before the death, you're just in the in-between space. All of this is just the, how should I say, lore for you. You know, this is your character development, so to speak, you know? But there's a lot of things I could acknowledge, and there's a lot of things I can't acknowledge. But I know one thing's for sure. If you want to live a life where you can live in the real world and handle it, you gotta, you know, live in the real world in the first place. You know, where you just don't need to be online all the fucking time, okay? You gotta be able to have conversations. You gotta be able to have those cringe moments and those relatable things. And guess what? It's gonna make your gaming feel better because, well, if you wait long enough, you're gonna get a good reward. You know, it's probably gonna hit harder than you remembered it, you know? If you give it enough time. But if you just don't, then it probably won't. And it doesn't have to be video games. It could be movies, TV shows, books, you know, songs, or whatever you're particularly into. You know, art. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not you. You're not me. So I can only tell you for so long to do this or to do that. You know? But at the end of the day, or the end of the night, or whenever you're watching this, however, whenever, why-ever, you know, that kind of thing. It's up to you if you want to do this, you know? Like, you have the chance to do this if you want to. But you have to want to do it, or need to do it, or get the idea that you want to do something like that in the first place in order to do that kind of thing. But, again, it's completely up to you. So, whatever you do from here on out, that's your problem to make, you know? That's your decision. That's your, whatever you think it is. Okay? Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the video for today. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end this video, but I think you get the idea of IRL maxing. You know, it's just to help you, you know, live in the real world and know how to deal with it, you know, with all the, not just the bad, but also the good and the great, you know, not just the evil or the wrong or the bad, but also the good, the great, and the mighty, you know, that kind of thing. Whatever you want to call it these days. But yeah, that's basically it in today's video. So I shall see you later. Or probably not, but who knows. Anyway, I'm out of here. Bye!